Geysers of Fun 2016 Mountain Tour, Day 1, Sunday, June 26th. A late start as you would expect. The packing continued throughout the day as the global warming southern sun melted faces. 7 p.m. we hit the road. The adventure begins. A sketchy stop on the Howard Franklin, and again at the first rest stop to fix our winged flapper friend. Bruised and battered, it surely will not last the trip. With bikes finally covered securely, we travel on. Ron's is as welcoming as always. We have a couple while I watch my second shootout ever, hockey excluded. Messi missed. We try to get sleep as the night before held none. Gizmo would decide otherwise. Her curiosity consumes the night. 150 miles in, I'm already sick of driving. Only 7,000 more to go, and I'm already planning a closer vacay next year. The farm is infested with the noise of the local nighttime creepy crawlies. Like the soft crashing of distant waves, we slumber into our first night of glamping. Day 2, Monday, 6-27. Morning number 1 starts out with a bang. Ron's Diner is open and serving up the finest turkey bacon in the land. We ease into the day with an impromptu jam. I miss this. He wants to steal all my covers for his own band. Ron's humorous attempt to fix the AC had me laughing. Just as you would not have a mechanic make you eggs, you should not have Ron, Master Chef, work on your car. We say our goodbyes with a 5-point turn and hit the road to Big Lagoon. After a detour on the longest driveway to a rest stop ever, we nestle into our cozy oven of a campsite. After our first roast beef of, I assume, many, we venture out into the wild chasing darkness. What we find is beautiful. Sugar sand trails lead us to water on most sides. A stop atop a tower gives us some relief from the oven we call the South, its gentle breeze kissing our collective faces. G-Love feels the heat early on and pants the entire trek. We find one of the most beautiful amphitheaters I have ever seen, and I imagine a night of shows by Medeski Martin & Wood and Monster Magnet. We take the road to the boardwalk where we meet our new friends, Justin and Justine. I know. We exchange pleasantries and move on. Beers, cheese, crackers, a tabletop concert, and a shower later. Gizmo, pooped and clean, drifts off into sleepy time. Family and Hall, we find ourselves at Camp 14, Justin and Justine's. He pours me a stiffy and we joke into the night. We leave and are invited back for another night the next night. We'll see. Day 3, Tuesday, 6-28. Finally some sleep. We wake to some raindrops. Breakfast consists of an open-faced pancake, sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich. Outside, the world is heating up around us. Joe rests, I journal. Feels like temp 96 degrees at 1:11 p. That's better than 106 yesterday. When I decide to go for a ride, it feels like is over 100. The Blue Angels dive by, and I see them again as I trudge through some more sugar sand. Thank you, motor and breeze. Now for some dinner music. Chicken Alfredo fills the plate. Lounging, then an evening hike to our tiny beach. We brave the tall grasses toward the boardwalk. We set the tarp once again, hoping to avoid travesty. I chill with a beer while Gizzy warms my knee under the table. When journaling begins, she retreats to the floor. Does journaling provide self-worth? I believe it does. Why else would anyone put pen to paper? To draw dinosaurs? Look at me with my little tiny hands. Day 4, Wednesday, 6-29. Later start than planned, but an extra 5 minutes of sleep was needed. Gas leak and not the funny butt kind slows us even more. Food transferred, we hit the road to what should be a 10.5-hour drive with a 9:30 p. arrival. I guessed midnight and was only off by an hour. The new car smell is gone. Mostly dog's breath fills the air. Brisket at Arby's and boneless wings rounds out the meals. Hopefully our meals turn a little healthier as the Geysers of Fun tour continues, although the wings were joined by carrots and celery. We drive up the dark and curvy mountain road, dodging the local wildlife along the way, mostly the four-legged antlered kind. No antlers yet, though. Mountain Magazine provides a dark, if not spacious sight, and a pile of free wood. Tomorrow I will burn. 1 a.m. arrival, 2 a.m. sleep. Windows open for the first time in a long time. Calming crickets lure the Z's, while random tree falls awake us. All drives will take a lot longer than originally planned. Day 5, Thursday, 6-30. Another banging morning. It feels so nice up here, away from the constant heat. Our trial of errors continue. The fridge electrically fails, but the gas issue may be resolved. Coffee and leftover chicken Alfredo fills our spirits with a side of widespread. We found a gold mine, a treasure trove of firewood, stacked neatly under our picnic table. We vie for excellence. A vampire soliloquy is the life I live, burning steaks on the fire long after the world has extinguished its smoldering flame. Today's stats, 8 miles in 4 hours and 20 minutes. I'm proud of the offhand goals I set and that we accomplished them. 2 days on the highway awaits, but hopefully the mountainside flower trails will alleviate any hardships the road will throw my way. Gizmo's paws are a little worse for wear, but hopefully time on the road will heal her wounds. We trekked Signal Hill, Mossback Ridge, Greenfield Trail, and the North Rim, early on, truly reaching the highest point in Arkansas. What does it take to jump off the side of a mountain in a winged apparatus? Standing at the edge can be quite unsettling. Once the fear of death is diminished, life's possibilities are endless. Motivation and fear are silent partners in life's conspiracy of passive laziness. The struggle, so to speak. The wind is in perpetual cycle of the Earth's meditation routine, breathing constant, exhaling, inhaling simultaneously. The trees reflect her light touch with subtle laughter as she kisses the back of my neck. In the distance, an air mattress gets refilled. Fireside refill. Starline streets and distant splashes of electric sky. I drink alone. I stoke alone. A genuinely gifted maiden fire, and I am forever grateful, for I know tonight could easily be the best. Tonight, as I sit fireside, I contemplate my own demise. I think I want to go out at 84 in a knife fight with a desensitized and dehumanized grizzly bear. I'm 42 as I write. Have I lived a half-life? I think I have. Besides my gruesome death, what will the other half hold? Can I choose to make it what I want? I think I can. And that is with a half-life of experience. The choices I make control my world. Nothing else does. It's 12:27 and I noticed. This happens a lot. And then the moment ends and I feel winds like never before. Phone fire dictation out, for now. It's not the size of the fire, it's the circumference of the coals you leave behind. The trail this time leads us right back home, a nice surprise. Day 6, Friday, 7-1. Coming down the mountain, I dream of a Serious Jane's station. Then I soon realize that they'd only ruin it by playing the same redundant shit over and over. Someone once told me, don't worry about anything you can fix with money. Easily said by someone who has money, I usually followed with. I get where he's coming from, though. Today had its trials, but no one was hurt. Just a lost family encounter, but we all survived to ramble on. Lessons were learned. Don't always take things literally. Tire changed. We drive late into the night. Today's saving graces was the delectable cheese-covered pork burrito I got at Burrito Loco, and that Iowa has rest stops you are allowed to actually rest at every 20 miles. It made pushing the late-night drive further a little easier. Day 7, Saturday, 7-2. The drive continues. South Dakota's vistas can be quite stunning. The sky and the rolling hills can go on forever. The layers of clouds look like something I would have painted on my walls, only finished. Parking lot Hardee's breakfast and wall drugs seem quite less amusing this time around. The drive always takes longer than you think, especially if you put too much trust in your phone. Sometimes a good old-fashioned map is your best tool towards finding your destination. We take the scenic route, up mountains, through tunnels, and hairpin turns, dodging skanky biker hose and Hill City along the way. Darkness is easing in, so Gizmo and I try to make best of what light we have left. We head up the mountain to find another in the distance, and what starts out as a first step finds us on top of the opposite mountain. It all comes down to motivation most of the time. Yesterday already seems ages ago. After a shower, I get caught up on everything bison at the adjacent amphitheater. Not as stunning as earlier in the week, but at least this one had entertainment. I held up my hand and took the oath. Hands-off approach, one that I had already followed. Tool, Wilburys, and Snoop provide most of the soundtrack today. Hy-Vee may be the best grocery store ever. 11:20, I'm going to bed, fireless. Hopefully I get more than the 3 hours of highway sleep I got last night. Tonight, we camp on a lean. I brushed my teeth for the first time today as I lay down for bed. Day 8, July 3rd, Sunday. Day behind on journaling and my mind is having trouble filling in the gaps. We awake to wild turkeys out our trailer windows, eating whatever they can find on the ground. We pack up and move on to our next site. This will become our routine for the next few days. Our next site has the view of a steep, mountainy cliff along a babbling creek. Joe straightens up while I play guitar for the first time in a few days. After rocking out in drop D for a while, I meet the host where awkward silences must be a thing. We take the cooler on the road after deciding on having another driving day, and what a good day we chose for an afternoon drive. Near the beginning of the wildlife loop, we encounter our first herd of bison. Roadside, roaming within feet of us in a field. This too would become routine. Cracking our first one at the back of a buffalo jam, minutes later, we decide to take some side roads instead. We kick up dust down these back roads until one leads us to a highway. We make a turn to lead us back to the loop when we encounter a monster herd of bison directly in front of us in the center of the road, staring us down and coming up to our window to show us who really is in charge. I consider myself very fortunate today. Sometimes timing is everything, and a right or left turn can make all the difference in the world. At the end of the herd rode one lone biker who spoke this word of wisdom I will never forget. Moo. We found ourselves as the first or only car in 3 different beastly congregations and witnessed on a hillside from afar. Along with the bison, we also encountered some pronghorns and many adorable prairie dogs running around and standing at attention like my cock on a Sunday morn. Back at the campsite, we race the rain trying to finish the salmon over the campfire before the sky lets loose. The salmon, slightly undercooked, made it that much more delicious. The corn on the cob, not so much. We finished that in the Nucavator. Caveman meets 20th century man. Bellies full and spirits full. Sleep becomes us.
Back there, man. He's hurting him. He's hurting him. Look at this dude. That's a big one. Holy cow. Exactly, man. Crazy. I think one bumped me. Oh shit. And we hit the motherlode buffalo.
Day 9, July 4th, Monday. We wake up, clean up, and move on. This time no trees for shelter, but we are next to a big foresty hill that we all soon climb with coffee in hand. We have some breakfast and head out the mountain with the Sunday Gulch Trail in my mind, one that we had hiked 8 years before. The road twists and curves high into the air and literally through a mountain. This tunnel, our rig, would have no chance making it through. We end up at Sylvan Lake and luckily change parking spots before getting ticketed. After convincing by a friendly ranger, we decide to hike the Harney Peak instead. I'm not saying this is the worst choice I ever made, but it wasn't the best either. Whichever circumstance, it kicked my ass. When you can see the peak to which you are about to climb and it looks a state away, that can be very daunting. Just when you think you are at the top, you have what seems to be another mile straight up. And I'm not talking Paula Abdul here. We make it to the top, barely. The views are beautiful, endless, and stormy. After being warned of no lightning rods on the tallest peak east of the Rockies, we decide to move on. Here's another thing that is daunting. When you are completely exhausted and you are only halfway into a hike, sometimes the only thing that keeps you going are the fat people you passed coming down while you were going up. You think, if they can do it, I can do it. I did do it, but I think that's when the mountain sickness really started to set in. My legs are killing me. My dog has a limp. My pack is too heavy, kept going through my mind. In the end, I took my shoes off and soaked my feet into the cleansing waters of Lake Sylvan. After almost every hike I ever made, I always feel like I'm better for it. This one, I'm still deciding. Exhausted, I lie curled up in bed like a shivering, wet puppy, huffing burnt plastic. Never set a steel rod across your battery. Joe burns us up some stovetop burgers. I get up to eat, then go directly back to bed. Maybe my first hike ever, I didn't want to finish off with a beer. Day 10, July 5th, Tuesday. I wake up like a champ. I'm not all that sore and I feel good. We take a bike ride down and almost around the lake, have some breakfast and move on to our next site, this one our nicest of the SD4. It sits next to a hillside along a horse path. We'd see riders come and go all day. Joe does laundry and I decide to check out what those fat tires can do. I take off up the horse path which leads me down boulder-filled hills, over and through rivers, into a valley and up a mountain, and down back to camp. A fun ride, especially assisted by a motor. I play some daytime guitar, and we build a pretty decent fire, burning all our boxes we've been holding on to for what seems like a week. The rain moves us under an awning for a little while, but we finish off the wood, scavenged, bought or otherwise, fireside. I clean up camp for an early start for our drive tomorrow. Mountain sickness kicks back in, and I have chills and hot flashes all night. Day 11, July 6th, Wednesday. We get up early to make Yellowstone at a decent hour. Well, at least it wasn't midnight. A long drive, but a really pretty one as well. We traverse the Bighorn Mountain Range in Wyoming, and they are breathtaking. On the way out of South Dakota, we pass by Sturgis. It looks kinda lame when no motorcycle rally is going on. Wyoming, like South Dakota, at times seems endless. As we pass Sundance, I look for Redford's ranch and imagine the town only exists because of him. I think its history goes like this. A famous guy buys a ranch, names it, creates a festival, neighbors move in, and boom, you have a town. Just when we think we are there, we have an hour to go. Yellowstone is huge. It's another 45 miles to our site. We arrive to a kick in the balls. No electric at our entire camp. In fact, the park has only one campground with electric, and we ain't staying there. My mountain sickness has kicked in again. I feel like shit and sleep fully clothed with a stocking cap. This place is fucking cold. All the more reason we missed the electric. Luckily, the slide-out opened and the hitch jacked up. Otherwise, we would have really been screwed. We do not realize, though, in a few days, this will create a problem, and it will continue to wear on me. I cook up an organic spinach artichoke pizza and journal. We did pass a few buffalo on the way in, but by now, we are bear, wolf, moose, or bust.
Day 12, July 7th, Thursday. Today I wake and my body still craves the oxygen it so desperately needs. We have breakfast by 2 p.m. and take a couple naps along the way. I take a shower and realize I have trouble breathing. I don't know what I have, mountain flu, Lyme disease, or what. My new ailments are at least distracting me from my pulled groin and this bite on my leg that has been growing since Arkansas. After shower, we finally do make it out, better late than never. We drive past bubbling cauldrons, waterfalls, and canyons. A highlight is when we go in search of the elusive Yellowstone wolf. We pull off into Lamar Valley, down a dark road where a pack of people have settled in. They too are on the hunt. A den is located beyond the pines a mile away. We wait. With the naked eye, viewing is not at all practical. Luckily, a fellow wolf hunter has his scope and another to share. I take a turn and see nothing. I wait for another turn. This time, when I sit down, it takes a couple minutes, but I see a few pups jumping down the hill in front of the pines among the tall grass. Then a grown adult black wolf stares me in the eye. Success. Today started out so poorly, ends with a wolf sighting. Even though it was through an artificial eye, it was still pleasing. We get back to camp and warm up a pre-made artichoke stuffed chicken. No hormone, no antibiotics, only deliciousness. Day 13, July 8th, Friday. We get up early to head into town so we can make it back in time to sightsee. Well, that didn't happen. The drive to Cody takes 2 hours. Did I forget to mention there is about an 80-mile stretch where everything is named after Wild Bill Cody? Apparently, the Robert Redford of his time. After generator shopping for an hour, I buy the most spendy one. We stop at the Silver Dollar for a burger, and my mountain cancer is hitting hard. Joe drives us back as I reel in pain. I lay down upon return, wishing that I had brought medication on the Cody trip. What I thought may be a 4-hour tour ends up being at least 7, and no sightseeing is to be had. Joe starts a fire and a buzz as I try to make the throbbing in my head subside. I join her later for some smoked brats and some journaling. I look at the bite on my leg for the first time in a day. Some of the swelling has gone down, but the sore is still huge. I'm really hoping I haven't gotten some flesh-eating virus. The contusion on my groin lingers as well. Yay. I really hope tomorrow goes better. Now I will try to get some sleep as our gibberish-speaking camp neighbors rattle off nonsense. Day 14, July 9th, Saturday. Another rough one. My body lacks the oxygen it so desperately needs. We get up early again to see the local sights before checkout. Getting up early really isn't that hard when you go to bed at 9 every night, except for the cold. But today ended up being the nicest we had since arriving. But that may soon change. Snow is in the forecast. We catch as many views as we can of the falls and canyon without having to walk too far. I still tire easily. We head back and pack up for our move to Grant. Along the way, we see a couple moose treading along the shoreline of Yellowstone Lake and a wide spectrum of morons getting way too close for the must-have selfies. I'm making a lot of judgment errors myself, but not with wildlife. Parking the camper. I go into the wrong loop, the wrong way of the site, my head ain't right. Did I mention I need oxygen? The side overlooks the lake and the back 40, one of our nicest yet, just tricky to get into. The trees to the curved pull-through are very narrow. Once settled, I hit the bed exhausted at 11 a.m. The camper may be close to 80 degrees for the first time since Arkansas. So I bundle under a sleeping bag with Gizmo and nap while Joe cooks half our rotten meat. After a long time in bed, a spicy stomach-turning steak snack, I go back to bed, still drained. After Joe cleans up again, I try to motivate myself to shower. After the shower, I have the tiniest bit of pep in my step, so we head to Old Faithful and wait. A minute late, on her 20-minute window, she goes off in all her splendid glory. I took a few pictures, but felt I missed a little when I did. It might be nice to see with no distractions. Just down the road, we hit up the Grand Prismatic Spring, a wildly interesting place, one where many a head cover find their final resting place. All sorts, too, not just baseball caps, but ladies' Sunday best. When walking next to boiling acid water, keep an eye on your kid. The clouds tonight formed a crazy giant alien head, and not the friendly kind, Independence Day type shit. Once back at camp, we lay down again. I muster up the energy to make a chicken quesadilla. Halfway through, I realize this chicken may have turned. Day 15, July 10th, Sunday. I guess I won't ever be climbing Everest. Fuck Yellowstone with your cold and your rain and your lack of the bare essentials, air. On another note, Gizmo had me up early, not to poop or pee, but to run around for a half hour. It turned out to be the highlight of the day. 15 moose trampled through the lake, eventually moving to a sand island right in front of us. I came to the conclusion that even moose can be dicks, as one would not let a smaller one cross the inlet. They were interesting to watch, unlike me, for the rest of the day in bed. It rained all day since the moose sighting, and we watched no direction home. Took a break for a chicken Caesar salad. Yes, same chicken. And I'm thinking about brushing my teeth and watching Big Fish. Yeah, big plans. Oh yeah, I also get tired turning over in bed or walking to the bathroom. Day 16, July 11th, Monday. Fuck you, Arkansas. After my first day of feeling okay, I realize I have some internet at the campsite, so I do some searching and find out the things I have been going through this last week are symptoms of a brown recluse and tick bite, which I have at least one of both. I may have to see a doctor tomorrow. I thought that's what it might have been, but I'm still a little freaked out about the whole thing now. Because I didn't know what it was, I did just about everything you shouldn't do, such as hike the biggest hike you've ever hiked that year. It calls for rest. Now to today. Joe cooked us up some sausage for breakfast. We took showers, then went to see some sights after walking G-Love a couple times. Almost forgot. Before we left, we had a moose visitor to the campsite across from ours. I saw her, she saw me. She was big. Gizmo huffed like she stood a chance in the fight. Luckily, no fighting was needed. I'm trying to journal. Joe, you're bumping me while I'm writing. By the time we make it to our first destination, after 5, maybe closer to 6, Mammoth Springs was pretty cool. But I must say, not as cool as the next stop. At the Norris Geyser Basin, the ground is alive. It talks, it moves, it spits and vents. Beauty mixed with uneasiness. Nowhere more than here are you aware that you are standing atop of what they call a sleeping giant. Underneath our feet lies a supervolcano, one that could possibly wipe out the earth one day. At least the silly humans that inhabit it. Norris is probably the most interesting thing I've seen here this week. Even more interesting than the moose poop Gizmo stepped in earlier when I was pointing it out to Joe. Its steam is extreme. I'm probably the best poet in Loop I, 316 all the way. Moose tomorrow, moose today. Our last stop, Giddon Falls. It was getting gorgeous, but it was also getting dark, so we couldn't stay for too long. It paid off to take the extra 600 steps though, well at least 400 more. The view got better up until that point. We race back as fast as we can on sometimes crowded roads. Imbeciles, they do stick together. And sometimes on bridges. We took the dog for a short jaunt and did some research. Asterisk, see first paragraph. And warmed up some delicious wine chicken spinach stuffing dish. Today's deep thought comes from a gas can. Don't make things more complicated than they have to be. Many times, simpler is better. They say a zebra is a horse by committee. Well, I just bought the gas can they were selling. Yesterday's deep thought comes from an Irishman. Don't fear, don't envy, and don't be mean. Hopefully, we won't all die in my dreams tonight. Last night at Yellowbone. Day 17, July 12, Tuesday. Snuck in on some big-ass rig MFs to take the last spot at Heady Waters. Joe says, "Slow-ass motherfuckers." First night electric, also first beer in 6 days. We hike with dog to river. The trail slowly disintegrated into the hissing of the Snake River. As the grasses grew in length, so did the tension of the ever-present bear. His tracks and scat easily gave him away, yet his elusiveness prowled the wilderness. Gizmo too had been touched by the wild. Her inner craziness let loose riverside as loose sand shot into the air with every maddening step. Now deep in sleep she still runs. To own an ice truck in these parts could easily make you the richest man in northwestern Wyoming. Ice is gold, and gold is spendy. I am a sucker for frozen water. When one doesn't drink for 6 days, one must secure his supply. Our fire was gathered and our brats were smoky, and rain once again tried to shut us down. Fuck you, rain. The guitar, too, was unzipped from its canvas home for some bed and fireside jamming. Use it or lose it, friend. The Tetons will need to be explored in greater detail tomorrow. Last night I realized that I screwed up the dates again, so I guess one more day is added to this trip. It keeps getting longer and longer. As long as I start feeling better and my leg doesn't fall off, I'm cool. Day 18, July 13th, Wednesday. Vacation sure feels better when you don't feel completely shitty. We take a ride to Jackson for some breakfast and homeopathic care. We have some brisket at some random BBQ place that allows our entire party, mainly our four-legged friend. Afterward, we walk around the pleasant little town looking for a health store that doesn't exist. As we make our way back to the town square, Gizmo is one crazy freaker. More so than the tweaker by the speaker. Joe sits in the park while I look at the local merchandise. This town is touristy, but fun in a similar way Clearwater can be. I stop into the saloon to see what the local wildlife looks like stuffed. Mountain lions are huge. I don't see how any human could win that fight. The ice racket is alive and well and living in Wyoming. We stop at Lucky's, once again another supermarket that outshines the Florida ones. Grass-fed meat at $5 a pound. I get my bentonite clay for my leg and some charcoal for who knows what. On the way back to camp, we stop and look at the scenery a few times, but need to hurry to get our crab cakes to the freezer. We take a quick nap, then proceed to go scrounging for firewood. A found fire is much better than a store-bought one. I find enough roadside treasure to make it through the night. Tonight's fire started by the Largo leader. I jam some tunes and have a few beers as our fire rages on. With night comes darkness, with only the shine from the bathroom windows to guide us. We head for bed. With the shade down and Joe's new blackout window in full effect, the trailer emits no light at night. Day 19, July 14th, Thursday. 3 days later, I'm having a hard time remembering what has taken place. Let's see. We cruised our lithium-charged transportation down Lakeside to a trailhead. We then hiked said trail onto a deeply wooded island with frequent views of the Tetons beyond the water that rippled as the constant breeze motivated its song. I'm still having trouble with the slightest of hills. After hiking, we ride to the stables and look at the horses in a line from a distance. We cash in for $9 worth of shower. At camp, we see a fox scurry through the woods and meet a couple neighbors. Gizmo, according to Joe, tongue-punched a small child in the face repeatedly as he giggled away. Another fire, this one bought. We need to use up all our wood. No free rides on this bus. Day 20, July 15th, Friday. What a day, in a scary way. We pack up for our move to Colorado. On the way, we stop for a couple last looks. Just as we roll out onto the main highway, it happened again. Chunks of rubber are flying. We pull over to the side of the busiest road in Wyoming. Luckily, we get a cop and a ranger to stop and help a little. with the crazy traffic. No way else would I have been able to work on the highway. Well, I know how to lower the spare and change a flat. Not that fun on such a busy road. Tire change, we find the next pull-off to pump it up. We have all the tools. Next, we find a tire shop to fix the old one and pull a switcheroo.
We stop at Lucky's again for food, and Gizmo and I find a park. She freaks again on the way back to the car. There was a little construction, but this is getting old. 2 new tires in tow, we hit the road. I drive all day through the southern Wyoming desert. Highway to 2-lane side road to, well, a dirt hell nightmare. The road was steep, waffled, curvy, dirty and dark when it was there at all. 29 miles takes 3 hours when you're averaging 7 to 15 miles per hour. In the back of my mind, I try to push out thoughts of the North Carolina road from a few years back. At one point, I decide, doesn't matter how long it takes, just keep moving, and eventually we will get out of this mess, no matter how slowly. We flag down a ranger near a visitor center after midnight. I talk my way into a campsite for the night. Yet to see if we have to pay for it or not. If anything, we pay in damage from trying to back it in up a steep incline made of pavement. Refusing to shit in the pit toilet at this particular time, or maybe because it was compacted for 3 hours on a bumpy road, I go to bed tonight knowing a shit is imminent.
Day 21, July 16th, Saturday. Waking up, having to shit, I race Camper and Hall toward the most surest restroom. Passing on my regular routine of cleansing of the throne, I put caution to the wind and go for it. Just in time. Our site has beautiful view with Mount Nipple among other titty-looking mountains. The locals frequent the meadow and pines down our backyard valley. We delay breakfast in lieu of a shower. After, we head into Steamboat Springs for a trifecta. Breakfast ends up being our most expensive meal in a long time. Portions and price could easily use some adjusting. After a short stroll, we end up at the Golden Leaf. My first visit ever to a legal dispensary was a pleasant one. I had to wait for a minute, but soon had my own personal associate to give advice and answer questions, and to make my marijuana buying experience a pleasant one. Now, if I didn't smoke on occasion, I may have still found myself in there just to exercise a long overdue right. I'm hoping the Big O, upon leaving office, finally rights Nixon's wrongs. My entire life, they have made criminals out of ordinary men, one of the biggest social tragedies of humankind. I go for a sativa and a blend to go, along with a few gummies. New America. Our third stop, a brewery across the street, Storm. Let me describe this tiny block of capitalism. Side A of street has weed and tacos. Directly across, side B has coffee and beer. Quite possibly my favorite block in America.
I have the IPA as we converse with a weirdo from Wisconsin. Let's call him Scooter Boy. Again, we overpay for ice. At least this time it came with a wardrobe compliment and an invite from a mountain girl cashier. Coming up and back at camp, we cruise to the pooper via the trail mountainside toward the lake. Beer in tow, we have a liquid picnic lakeside. I am the truck, likewise Joe is the trailer. A short laydown later, with Nipple Peak in full view from the bedside window, we have another found fire. This one involves burning logs in half and chewing them down like a fiery beaver.
Our last of smoked sausage gets fired up and the wind smacks and caresses the tall trees like an abusive lover. Their cries sweep toward the distant mountains where they get lost in the mix of nature's constant rumble. Once again, sleep and a new pen. Day 22, July 17, Sunday. Late start and a long breakfast. Omelet and twice-baked taters. Trail ride to the Flusher with some journaling to Mr. Waits. Lemonaded up, we ride, I hope. We do ride. Down the hill, I take an accidental yet deliberate left that leads lakeside, hillside, and roadside to the dam. Though most gates are unlocked, we have to walk the last bit. We see a buck along the long, gravelly trail. Once back, I rock out some tunes for a while, enjoying the mountain scenery and the quite pleasant weather. Tit Hill provides ample entertainment. Steak and rice fill our bellies tonight. Another scavenge fire warms and lights our moon-filled night. During my one-man band show of shows, my dear friends come by and listen and stay through the crew finale. I truly believe most wildlife enjoy and like to participate in my playing. My natural connection with my environment is musically inspired. My lady, a bike ride, my guitar, some writing, a delicious meal and a fire. Today was a good day. Day 23, July 18th, Monday. Disc golf was not in the cards today. A stormy morning kept us shacked up until mid-afternoon. We ate leftovers all day. Spaghetti for breakfast, tacos and chicken fried steak for lunch, and a handful of trail mix for dinner. The clouds finally blew away, and it made for a lovely evening. The bike trail alone is worth the price of admission. I take another ride, sans Joe, which means I cover more ground faster. Along the way, I see a lot more of my dear friends. That seems to be a reoccurring theme at this place. The fat tires rule these hills. Like when the little kid said I couldn't ride in the Tetons, I said I can ride anywhere I like. A game of Scrabble rounds out our stormy morning, and a Joe-built fire rounds out our clear, cool night. Day 24, July 19th, Tuesday. My daily trail commute to the clean commode takes me past a doe and a 10-point buck this sunshiny morning. Giz and I chatted up with a neighbor on our 7 a.m. venture. Now it's time to eat some frozen pizza and pack up. We make it to Mueller with no unforeseen hardships. Our Site 13 is on a ridge overlooking the woods. We take a couple trips down for wood. Lunch provided by the food deli and a supermarket. 2 fried chicken meals with some broccoli salad and noodle salad sides. How novel, a side that comes with a meal. Both meals cost less than 1 serving of fried chicken and steamboat. We heat up some crab cakes, leftover rice, and drive to the trailhead at the top of the mountain. The hike was somewhat short and very steep. At the end, which opened up to a beautiful mountain vista and boulders to climb on. We finish our beers and head back before it gets too dark to see. We blaze our hybrid fire, found and bought into the night. Joe bails and I do some night hiking up the road. The moon is full and it lightens up the mountain and fields in the distance. I stir the coals for another hour, then go to bed. Day 25, July 20, Wednesday. Late night and early rise makes for a great hike, seriously. After talking to a neighbor in Steamboat, per her suggestion we decide to hike the crags. 4 miles of rough 1-lane dirt road led us past the Mennonites to the trailhead. We cross a creek over the bridge to start our hike. Up, up, and away. A steep climb is presented early on. Soon enough the trail leads past giant boulders and other rock croppings. The forest opens up to grassy fields with mountain peaks in the distance. The weather is beautiful, warm, and dry. We climb a few of these croppings to scary cave openings. Pin 3. Near the end, midpoint, the climb gets even steeper, and the views get more spectacular. We get a 360-degree view of the mountains, rivers, and lakes below as we pass hundreds of years-old missile cone trees. We make it back before any serious rain starts. After a rest, a beer or hard jack, and a shower, we go for a campground walk. This too is steep. Since the rain stopped during the Mo show, we decide to scavenge for some firewood. We score again. Jill cooked us up some chicken after her shower. We eat some sprouts, and boy, are they Brussels-y. Almost 2. We have our, what may be, final fire. I imbibe and Joe makes another snack, chicken quesadillas. 1 more moonlight walk, and I try, to no avail, to outlast the fire. Day 26, July 21st, Thursday. We wake with some coffee and head out of town toward the Garden of Gods. Well, if it weren't for so many people there, we may have been able to park and leave the vehicle. But that didn't happen. So instead of hiking the garden, we take the driving tour. Just as well, we're both hungry. It was quite hot and we need to get some miles on these new tires today. The rocks are very similar to those of Red Rocks. We have Thai for lunch. Must remember, medium hot Thai is extra hot American. We enter the central time zone around 6 p.m. in Kansas. Temperature 102. It's an abyss of farmland where miles seem like kilometers, or reverse that. Objects seem closer than they appear. Next to the Thai joint, there was another joint, and this one sold joints. We didn't stop this time, but they are everywhere. Not as prevalent as liquor stores, but not too hard to find. We drive through Breckenridge, Alma, the highest incorporated city, and the ocean of nothingness that is Kansas. Ate some fish and chips on the 100-degree patio of a local pub restaurant, then watched the moon rise from the driver's seat of the highway. It gave me something to stare at for hours through the deep space of darkness. From a distance, we could see what looked like to be a landing signal for Jesus. But in the end, it turned out to be giant wind farms. We keep traversing and hit the wild, exity, and curvy highway that leads through Kansas City. I'm glad I didn't do this strip of road at rush hour. I would have been sure to miss a turn dragging the trailer. We don't quite make it to St. Louis and stop a couple hours short at our second try of a rest stop for a few hours of sleep. Day 27, July 22nd, Friday. Rest stop sleep often involves a noise sandwich between trucks, motors running throughout the night. I meet an abandoned dog, and this saddens me. Skinny and dirty with bumps and bites. I offered food, but ultimately did nothing. Sometimes it seems hard to change the world. This is why every good little step along the way helps. Today I took no steps. A timeline and no need for another mangy mutt prevented me. As the moon still hangs high in the sky, we hit the road again. One day closer to home. After a stop at the elusive Bob Evans for some breakfast gravy and a distant view of the arch, a couple hours later we drive all day and make plans to crash Brandon sometime after dark in Atlanta. Today's drive is long and stormy. We make Brandon's late and scrape up his driveway on the way in and out. Flat ground is what we need. We imbibe a couple local hoppy refreshers and sample Colorado's finest. Take the art tour, watch the dogs go wild, and settle in for the night. Day 28, July 23rd, Saturday. Home is in our sights, but delayed for some catching up with friends. Today I'm not in a rush. We piled on the miles last couple days to keep us ahead of the game. Atlanta traffic sucks. We have a Brandon breakfast, a couple of showers, and a couple of shits after missing out on yesterday's 9-deuce. It takes us forever to get out of Atlanta. All traffic sucks, but Atlanta and Tampa have to be way up there. The drive seems to be another long one, but at least this time, the final destination is our next stop. We will be sad yet pleasant when this trip is over, but reality is calling. I must admit, with all the trials this trip presented, it seemed daunting at times. The sickness and flats tried to drag us down. Could it have been better? Hell yes. Did we have fun exploring? Of course. Will it be nice to be home? Another yes. We were tested along the way, and I believe we passed, hopefully with no lingering negative effects. We learned a few things along the way and are ultimately stronger. I lost 7 of the 10 pounds I wanted to, not quite the way I had planned, and seen things I never had before. Even though there were many struggles along the way, we made it home safely, and are much richer, if not poorer, from the experience. Total car time, 144 hours, 3 minutes. Total miles traveled, 6,119.1 at an average of 11.7 miles per gallon. 188 miles to E. Total times I turned off Jam On because Dave Matthews Band Every Day started up, way too fucking many. A couple days later, my neck still hurts in all new different ways. Until next time.